A young man walks out of a church meeting to get to his car. And as he sits there, he says to himself, I shared my idea and all I got was, son, we've been doing this long before you got here. I guess my input just doesn't matter. An older woman leaves the church thinking to herself, I've served in this church for 40 years. Now younger people are trying to make decisions like our history means nothing. Do I even belong here anymore? That's two people, same church, both feeling unheard and underappreciated. And here's the truth. A generational divide can be the death of a church. I've seen it happen in areas that I've lived and areas I've served. Let me tell you what happens in some churches, and maybe you've seen it too. Older members sometimes feel dismissed. They built the church, gave sacrificially, served faithfully, prayed desperately, and now they watch younger people suggest changes and think, do they even appreciate what we've done? Or are we just in the way now? Younger members, they sometimes feel ignored. They have energy and they have ideas and they have passion, but suggestions get responded to with, we've never done it that way, or let's form a committee and study it. They think, will they ever listen to us? Now, in most cases, both of those groups want the church to thrive, but instead of working together, sometimes we're just wearing each other down. But what if this isn't a problem to solve, but really a gift that we're just not seeing clearly enough? Let me show you something. Imagine a church leadership team made up of only people in their 60s and 70s. Wisdom? Absolutely. Experience? Tons of it. But here's the question. Are they connected to the daily struggles of young families today? Do they understand the questions that 20-somethings are asking about faith? Now imagine the opposite. A leadership team made up of only people in their 20s and 30s. Energy is through the roof. Fresh ideas constantly. But here's the question for them. Have they steered a church through a real crisis? Have they learned what the older generation figured out the hard way? You see, the church needs both groups, not one or not the other. It needs both. The wisdom of age without the energy of youth is like a museum. It has lots of history, but really nothing new. And then the energy of youth without the wisdom of age can become chaos. Lots of movement, a lot of things happening, but really no foundation. But what if you put them together? That's when the church becomes something else. Let me just have a word with both generations because respect has to go both ways. To the older generation, I know some younger people seem impatient. I know they don't always realize the cost of what it's taken for a church to exist for decades or even over 100 years. But here's what I need you to hear. If you've been saying no to every new idea for 10 years, you're not really providing wisdom anymore. You're kind of protecting your comfort. Trusting younger leaders means they may lead differently than you would. And if it's in line with Scripture, well, that's okay. We have to see that not all methods that worked in 1985 connect in 2025. It means believing God is still raising up leaders and He might do something new through them. You don't have to agree with every idea, but you do need to listen and encourage them and give them room to try, even if they fail, because really that's how we learn too, isn't it? Now, to the younger generation, I know some old members seem resistant. I know they don't always understand the urgency that you feel for things, but here's what I need you to hear. If you think everyone over 50 is irrelevant, then you're about to make mistakes that they could have helped you avoid. Honoring older members means recognizing that the church you're in didn't just appear out of thin air. Someone worked to build it. Someone stayed when things got hard. Someone prayed when things seemed hopeless, and that deserves respect. You don't have to do everything the way they did, but you do need to listen and to learn and to honor the foundation that they laid, because someday you will be the older generation and you'll hope the next generation honors your faithfulness too. Let me show you what this looks like. Here's a real scenario many churches have faced. We used to call it the worship wars. A church wants to update their worship style. The older generation loves hymns. They love the rich theology and the deep meaning and these songs that carry them through the hard times. The younger generation connects with, contemporary music, songs that kind of express worship in their language. And many churches have fought over this for years. One side wins, the other side leaves or just resents it for the rest of the time. But churches who've gotten over this worship war, often they asked completely different questions. They asked, how can we honor both styles of worship? They asked, how do we teach younger people why these hymns matter while also letting them lead with songs that speak to their generation? They asked, how do we expand worship instead of narrowing it. You see, we teach each other to appreciate what the other generation values. That's not compromise, that's partnership, and that's how healthy transitions happen, gradually and intentionally and gracefully. Now, there is a hard truth about this generation gap, and it almost always goes wrong when one generation tries to hold on too long or the other generation just pushes too hard too fast. Older leaders who refuse to release leadership until they're forced out, well, that creates resentment. And younger leaders who dismiss older voices as just being irrelevant, well, they create division. Churches split, people leave, and ministry suffers. But healthy transitions, they honor God. That happens when older leaders create opportunities for younger leaders not to do just grunt work, but to have real responsibility. And when younger leaders actively seek wisdom from older leaders, asking questions instead of just assuming that they know better. Healthy transition happens when both generations extend grace to one another. Older leaders remember what it was like to be young and still learning, and younger leaders recognize that letting go is a sacrifice, and we need to honor those who take a step back. Imagine if every older leader in your church saw their senior years of service as a mentoring season, pouring into the next generation, setting them up for success. And then every younger leader saw their early years as a learning season, soaking up wisdom and building on what's already been established. Let me get really practical. If you're part of that older generation, here's a challenge for you. Find one younger person in your church. Ask them about their dreams for the church for the future. Offer to help them however you can, and the next time they suggest something new, before you say, well, that won't work, ask yourself, is this wisdom or am I just protecting my preference? Now, if you're part of the younger generation, here's your challenge. Find an older member in the church and thank them for their faithfulness. Ask them to tell you a story about the church's history. Learn from what they've already lived through. And the next time you want to change something, before you just push it through, invite their wisdom. What should I consider? What have you learned that could help me? And church leaders, you also have a part to play. We need to create opportunities for generations to work together on something meaningful, a real partnership where both generations each have a voice and they both have influence. Here's what we can move toward. Churches where older members see younger leaders step up and think, I'm so excited about the future. And younger members see older saints and think, I want to have faith like that when I'm their age. That's what the church was meant to be. Not a collection of groups that just tolerate each other, but a family where every generation has a seat at the table and a voice that matters. So let's do better listening to one another. Let's bridge the gap, not by one generation winning, but by both generations realizing we need one another. The future of your church may very well depend on it. We'll see you next time for Ministry Conversations. You guys have a great day, and God bless. Bye.